Hello, my name is Sania Singh and I'm doing my master's from Melbourne Institute of Technology, Sydney campus. Here is my video on the command line tools to monitor the performance. I have selected two tools, LSOF and ATOP. In this video, I would be exploring the tools, discussing the features, how to use them, their benefits for the system administrator, and doing a comparative analysis of the two selected tools. Let us start with the first tool, LSOF. LSOF stands for List Open Files. The syntax to install it is sudo apt get install LSOF. I have written sudo in order to get the root access. Now, LSOF, one of the main reasons for using this command is to find out which files are open or used by which process. Now, why would we want to know about the open files? Maybe because they are filling up the disk space and we may want to remove a file or even kill a process which has a maximum CPU utilization. Now, as we can see that these are all the files that have been opened up by various processes. The screen in front of us shows the command, the PID, which is the process ID of the process which is holding the file. Other information like the name of the user, which in this case is either Sania or root, the thread ID, the type of file, whether it's a regular file, a directory, or a symbolic link file. Now, any interaction with the system is treated like a file. As a result, if the application writes to a file or opens a network connection, LSOF will reflect that interaction as a file. This command is very useful to the system administrators. How? Because with the use of LSOF, we can have a look at the network connections. For instance, this is a very basic command. Now, this is a very basic command which shows the files that have been opened by a specific user, which is Sanya in this case. In case I want to view the network connections, I could use the command Now this basically shows the network, the files that have been opened by the UDP connection, the UDP network connection. If in case I wish to see the files that have been opened by a particular process, then in that case, the command would be, and suppose the process ID I take as 26292. This shows all the files that have been opened by this particular process. Now, this is a very handy tool for the system administrators. As we can see, the most common usage of LSOF is for debugging the system issues. The Linux network administrators also rely on this command when troubleshooting the network issues. Now, let us go to the next tool, which is ATOP. This is the syntax for installing ATOP. Again, sudo has been used in order to get the root access. One of the unique features of ATOP is that it will stay active in the background for a long-term server analysis up to 28 days by default. Its other features are that it helps us to check the overall resource consumption by all the processes and threads. It also helps to monitor process and network activity per user or per program. Similar to LSOF, it is also very powerful and an interactive monitor to view the load on a Linux system. It displays the most critical hardware resources from a performance point of view. For instance, I could view the CPU usage by the command. This shows the process ID and the CPU utilization of each process. For instance, in this case, currently we can see that the process with process ID 26292 has a 4% CPU utilization. If any system administrator wants to view the memory usage, we can view this with the command. This will list the information like the PIC, minimum and maximum fault numbers, memory usage, command, effective user ID, running user ID, VSText, etc. Now, in order to view the disk utilization, the command is we can see the disk utilization, and similarly, the network administrators can also view the network performance by the command atop-n. This shows which processes are responsible for indicated load concerning CPU and memory load on a process level. Now, now that we have explored the tools and talked about the features of both the tools, I would like to do a comparative analysis of both the tools. Now we have seen that where LSOF is mainly used to monitor the status of the network connections, besides listing the current connections, it could also list the running processes of files using those connections. On the other hand, ATOP shows the critical hardware resource from a performance point of view. It would list the information about the CPU, the memory disk, and the network. It also tracks all the processes, even those that have lived out their brief lives between ATOP screen updates, which is not shown by LSOF. Thank you.